The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass Amherst School of Public Policy, offering in-person and online graduate programs in public policy and data analytics. Admissions now open at umass.edu/SPP.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte, and welcome to the Spring Fund Drive.
800-639-8850 or nepm.org.
Later in the show, we'll speak with Tim Erickson about this weekend's Sacred Harp convention happening in Florence at Bombyx.
And maybe a few of his other projects, because he's got a lot of them.
But first, a case of pronouns and our ongoing questions about them and their use.
But everything is covered in ice.
Poor Moxie had this miserable bus ride home yesterday. Apparently the window immediately in front of her was open, so she was being actively snowed on while she was driving home, and it was really, really messy. And then she had to trudge up the long driveway in her sneakers, not her snow boots, and she was just beside herself when she got home.
Builds character. Now she'll be able to tell her kids someday, I have to walk, uphill both ways, 2 miles in the snow.
Right, and they'll be like, what's snow?
Time for another Word Nerd segment with Emily Brewster, resident wordster from Merriam Webster. Here we are on day one of the fund drive, where I've stolen your voice and have made it so that you can give out the phone number to call while we talk at any time that I wish for it to appear.
Go to nepm.org or call 800-639-8850.
No one man should have all this power.
But one of the things we like to do with the Word Nerd segment is take listener questions. And we got this listener question from Rob. Rob says, "Hi there. Many of us learned the object-subject usage of me and I. When you and someone else are doing something, or are something, how would you say it if it were just you? The bicycle belongs to Bob and I. Remove Bob, would you say the bicycle belongs to I? Most people wouldn't, and would be correct. Denise and me are going to the store. Ditch Denise. Would me be going to the store? Nope. My sister taught me that when I was a kid in the 70s, before I even understood the reason to use me and I." That was an incomplete sentence in itself. I won't be overly critical. Oh, I see. My sister taught me that when I was a kid, 1970s, before I ever understood the reason to use me and I. Be well, Rob. What's your take on I and me oh my? Emily Brewster from the dictionary, Merriam Webster.
He is in very good company because it's a pretty hot issue as far as these things go.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
It seems
definitely.
settled to me in regards to what is considered to be most correct, but do tell.
Well, there's something very interesting about this issue, I think, and that is that pronouns are very complicated. Just to remind everybody, a pronoun is a word that stands in for a noun. The referent of the noun is either understood or has already been mentioned.
Oh, and a certain political party hates them.
They hate when you choose your own, as opposed to letting them give you what pronouns they want you to have.
I see. Okay.
As I said before, no one person should have all that power.
Go to nepm.org or call 800-639-8850.
Continue with pronouns, Emily Brewster.
Now, the thing about pronouns is that we use them all the time. There was one right in the word them.
Right.
We use pronouns, so the word them is one. And pronoun use is, in my opinion, it is proof of our great facility with the language, the fact that we generally apply them flawlessly. There's very little confusion unless there is ambiguity where you haven't clarified which them you're talking about or which he you're talking about, etc. But for the most part, we apply pronouns all the time and nobody is confused. It's really remarkable. And we also never get them wrong. So, for example, we would never say, us never get them wrong.
Right.
I
We
would
don't.
not.
We always say, we never get them wrong. We seldom get them wrong. Nobody messes those up. If you are a native speaker, you've got all that stuff down. As our listener noted in the question, what was the example again? Can you remind me?
The bicycle belongs to Bob and I, or Denise and me are going to the store.
Right. So you would never say the bicycle belongs to I, right? Nobody says that.
Not in
You don't
U.S.
say-
American English.
Yeah.
Maybe in Jamaican English, right?
I and I plant the corn.
Right. And I should clarify that I am talking about what is standard in U.S. English.
Gotcha.
But yeah, in standard English, we don't make this mistake. And the fact that we do is of great interest to linguists and to lexicographers because it signals that something else is going on. Now, the thing here is that this shift in uses or this flexibility, what we're recognizing is that there is flexibility in pronoun use when there is a phrase, especially when it's joined by and. When we have a phrase that includes two or more people or things, the way that the pronoun gets applied, it's variable.
As evidenced by Rob's question here, the bicycle belongs to Bob and I. You wouldn't say the bicycle belongs to I. You would say the bicycle belongs to me. Thus, you should say the bicycle belongs to Bob and me, according to Rob's example question. Interesting that he put Bob and not Rob in the example.
He's trying to differentiate himself.
Bobby, Robbie.
Yeah.
Bobby's got a whole world.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bobby's World. I'm Howie.
I want to ask you two, as very competent users of the English language, which do you prefer? The bicycle belongs to Bobby and me, or the bicycle belongs to Bobby and I?
Me.
Me and my Bobby McGee.
Freedom is just another word.
I try to do it in the way that's the most correct, even though but I try not to be judgy about it either.
The first example, doesn't rub me weird. The second one does.
Denise and me are going to the store is Rob's example.
And I'm like,
as opposed
but shouldn't it be, my brain goes, Denise and I are going to the store because I'm the subject, so it should be I and not me.
Yeah, because you would clearly say, I are going to the store.
Right.
So what that says to me is that for you, Khalees, there's a stronger requirement for you that the nominative case, the one who is doing the verb, that one happens in the nominative case of English, which is I, which is, we, as opposed to us. That's stronger for you than the one that is the object of a preposition.
Yeah.
This is a rule that I was very much taught when I was growing up. But the fact that it has to be taught is a really potent signal to us that this is less about grammar and more about etiquette.
Because naturally we do the things most correct because if we grow up hearing the language, we just incorporate it and don't think about it.
Yeah.
And being on a public media station, it brings up the interesting case of Elmo.
Because Elmo talks in the third person?
Talks in third person.
Elmo has something special just for you.
And uses me when referring to himself in sentences. Me do things. Cookie Monster too.
Me think you need to treat yourself today.
It's an interesting,
Cookie Monster.
it's an interesting thing that on Sesame Street, there are all of these characters that break this trend that interact with kids all of the time.
That's why you should support public media right now so we can teach them grammar incorrectly.
Go to nepm.org or call 800-639-8850.
No.
From Elmo and Cookie Monster.
So we can teach them to be free with language.
Well, they're reflecting the speech of someone who is still learning the language. Now, there are really two possible things that are going on from a kind of linguistic analysis. One is that there is something going on called hypercorrection, and that is the idea that we are taught something that is correct and we generalize that one rule into situations where it's not actually meant to apply. We are often taught that I is more polite than me.
You sound fancier when you say, she and I went to the store.
That's right. Maybe from the time you're really young, somebody's telling you, no, it's not she and me went to the store, it's she and I went to the store. And so then you generalize to that, well, then they gave an ice cream cone to she and I.
Because you think saying me sounds informal for some reason, but I sounds more proper.
Right. Now, the problem with this theory is that we have examples of this kind of use going back to a long time before anybody was teaching grammar.
Which way? The way that we now view as incorrect or the way that...
Yeah.
Okay. And this is, I think I had an interaction with Rob who's asked this question in real life, and I said, I bet you Emily Brewster is going to say, Shakespeare probably did it, though, so don't sweat it.
Yeah, Shakespeare did do it.
But did Hamnet do it is the question.
No, because he died.
Oh, spoiler alert.
I mean, it's the whole caveat of the movie.
The saddest movie of the year.
So Shakespeare does it in one of a kind of a narrower case, and that is the one with between. I'm going to tell you a secret. It's just between, is it between you and I or is it between you and me?
I feel no way about either of them. They both feel right.
Between you and me sounds cooler.
Well, between you and me is always said when like secrets are coming up.
Yeah,
Between you
between
and
you and
I
me.
often feels more gossipy. Your face right now.
No, because if you said between you and I, and we're trying to tell me a secret, I don't trust you. Because you're not
Exactly.
one of the people.
Yeah, it feels more.
You're a plant.
But honestly, it doesn't. Neither of them feels more right.
How about this? How about if we say it's just between them or it's just between they?
Oh.
I would say them.
Them.
Them is definitely the case, and that is because between is a preposition here, and prepositions always take, in theory, they always take the object form, the accusative form. I don't know if our writer of our question has this problem or notices it, if they are especially annoyed when it's used with between, but between is a classic case because between is a preposition, and prepositions are supposed to be followed by the accusative, by the objective form of the pronoun. So just like you give it to her as opposed to you give it to she, you say it's between you and me, not between you and I. But we have in Shakespeare, Merchant of Venice, Antonio informs Bassanio in a letter, quote, "All debts are cleared between you and I."
Shakespeare did it wrong. We can all do it wrong.
If people were doing it wrong before it was taught as being wrong, it's probably not actually wrong. There was no wrong.
What
they were
is
doing,
wrong? Nothing.
Well,
I mean, there are some things that are wrong.
Not wrong, though.
No, not wrong until you do them enough that a large portion of the population does them with you so they become right.
Yeah.
right. We can also look at what is wrong as being what hinders communication.
Right.
I think that's really my favorite way to think about it. It's wrong if the listener or the reader is going to get tripped up by this and think, what? But we have these examples of between you and I going back hundreds of years and well before anybody was teaching these rules. If that's the case, it means that it's really not a case of hypercorrection. Hypercorrection, in order for it to exist, it requires that there be lessons that people are taught, or there'll be rules that people are taught about the language, and then that those rules be kept in places where they're not supposed to hold. So the other theory about this dates to the mid-1980s. Noam Chomsky published a book called Barriers. I think it was 1986.
This was pre-Epstein Files, Noam Chomsky. Before he was wrong, maybe.
Was it?
Yeah. Was it? It's a good question.
Anyway, his theory is that there is something about a phrase that messes with the assignment of case.
Okay.
So the accusative case, that objective case, it just messes with it. So when you say, I gave it to him, that's fine because there's no phrase. And so the objective case is being assigned without a problem. But as soon as you gave it to Khalees and him, it messes with it somehow. We've got between you and I, or gave it to her and I. That phrase, it actually changes how the language functions in a way. That's the theory.
So say the theory again.
The case assignment is interrupted somehow by a phrase. So if it's just one word that the case is being assigned to, it happens naturally. But if there's a phrase that it's being assigned to, the case actually gets assigned to the entire phrase and not to the elements within the phrase. That's the full theory.
Okay.
So give us that phrase again so that we can hear what it sounds like.
Give the ice cream to her and I. You're giving the ice cream, and that whole phrase, her and I, is being considered, all of it as a unit is being considered to be in the accusative case. The theory is not that the case is not being assigned, but that the case is being assigned to the entire phrase and not to its constituents.
So would give the ice cream to her and I be the more correct than give the ice cream to her and me?
No.
Okay, good. Because I was like, then I'm really way off base here.
No, it's not that it's more correct. It's that this assignation is happening in a way that allows for flexibility because it's happening to the entire phrase and it's not happening to the elements inside the phrase.
It's like peanut butter and jelly is a good sandwich as opposed to peanut butter and jelly are a good sandwich.
Exactly.
It's like when Noam Chomsky was writing to Jeffrey Epstein, he was saying between you and I, redacted.
Yes.
Go to nepm.org or call 800-639-8850.
We're probably running low on time, but there's a whole other situation that goes on with something called a predicate nominative. Let's say you're calling someone and
at the phone number that you can use to donate to New England Public Media.
Or go to nepm.org.
Right. And as you're calling, the person picks up the phone and you say, I would like to speak to the particular volunteer, whoever it is right there. And that person can say, it's me, or it's I.
They can say either.
They can say either, which again is weird.
Feels
Now,
like if you're going to say it's me with the contraction, you should say it's me. Or you should say it's a me if your name is Mario.
It's me, Mario.
were either of you taught to say it is I?
Well, but yeah, but
Yes.
if you say it without the contraction, it is, you should probably say I, it sounds like. It is I. It sounds like you're announcing yourself as some sort of like superhero or supervillain.
Yeah.
Right. Which is also a clue that this really has to do more with etiquette than it does to do with grammar. The idea here is that the word is, the most common verb in the English language, that is functions as an equal sign. And so the grammatical case on either side of that is should be identical.
Okay.
May I speak to Khalees? This is she. She is this. This is what we are taught. But again, it just doesn't always happen. And it doesn't happen in a way that it doesn't bother us in other situations. So, for example, if we want to require that you always say, this is she, when you answer the phone, then you would also need to say something like, oh, somebody's knocking on the door. Could it be they?
Right.
If you want to honor the predicate nominative, which explains why it should be this is she, then you would also have to honor it in these situations that now sound really, really stuffy to us.
I want to honor the predicate nominative because it is an honor just to be nominative.
Wow.
And it is award season.
This is tricky territory in general, but at least we don't also have to deal with personal gender on top of it.
Oh, yeah. Like so many other
Right.
languages do.
Yeah, I was thinking about like the pronouns in Japanese and how they vary on politeness and age and setting.
Wow.
The moral of the story, I guess maybe for our listener Rob, who emailed us, is that grammar is an attempt for the U.S. English language to have some rules that we abide by for clarity of thought. But that this I and me and pronoun situation is not as much having to do with grammar as it has to do with, as you say, etiquette.
Yeah.
It's the etiquette nominative.
The other thing is that English has been shedding these formalities for hundreds and hundreds of years. We used to require thee and thou. We used to have endings on our adjectives, the way that they do in lots of other languages. And we dropped those things. So in a lot of ways, this is another example of the English language kind of simplifying. And it's that simplification of the language that makes it possible for us to have adapted so many words from so many other languages. We can take on new vocabulary and we don't have to fit it into a really complicated system.
I would say that a lot of languages are doing this. Like, it's the reason why in Spanish we don't use vosotros.
Language evolves. It has evolved. It will continue to evolve. And my rule of thumb to anybody is just relax. Hopefully people understand you and you will try to understand others. And maybe it makes you feel good to say, I know this rule better than everybody else. Fine. But guess what? Shakespeare probably did the exact opposite. And maybe you don't know English as well as Shakespeare or will be as renowned in the English language as Shakespeare has been.
That's the second one. Because I'm pretty sure at the time, like, nobody was like out here going, that dude really knows his language.
Yes, but
Yeah, that's true.
I want to encourage everyone like Rob, who sent in a question, to do so. TheFab413 at nepm.org. And we love asking listener questions of our word nerd, Emily Brewster, resident wordster from the Dictionary of Note in the US of A, based right here in Springfield, Massachusetts, Merriam Webster. Thank you so much, Emily Brewster.
Oh, you're so welcome. I do just want to say that I have sympathy for people who are irked by these sorts of things because it really does signal a commitment to the language and a love of the language. So,
Yeah, and if they didn't have that, you'd be out of a job.
well, people are still coming up with skibbity and stuff. So,
It's just me, myself, and I.
In just a few, we'll show you how you can sing with a copious amount of your neighbors in traditional fashion at the Western Mass Sacred Harp Convention with the chair of the festival, Tim Erickson.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Ski Sundown in nearby New Hartford, Connecticut, offering bundled lesson packages including rental equipment and lift tickets. Online registration available at skisundown.com. Winter made better. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by GZA Geoenvironmental, an employee-owned environmental consulting firm in Springfield and Syracuse, hiring entry-level to project managers in ecological and civil engineering to share in GZA's future. GZA.com.
la 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 Those pilgrims on those scorching sands, those pilgrims on the scorching sand beneath the burning sky. Long for cooling stream ahead. Long for cooling stream ahead, and they must drink or die. Those pilgrims on those scorching sands, those pilgrims on the scorching sand beneath the burning sky. Long for cooling stream ahead. Long for cooling stream ahead, and they must drink or die.
It's so cool.
It sure is. Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. This Saturday and Sunday, March 7th and 8th, Bombyx Center for Arts and Equity in Florence will host the Western Mass Sacred Harp Convention. All are welcome to participate in 2 days of community singing in 4-part harmony from the Sacred Harp 2025. No prior singing experience required.
First published in Georgia in 1844, the heartland of the Sacred Harp singing remains in the deep southern United States, but Western Massachusetts connections run deep, from songs by self-taught locals in the 18th century to the famously vibrant weekly Tuesday singing at Smith College's Helen Hills Chapel, and the nearly 24 new songs with local connections in the brand new Sacred Harp.
And back at the helm as chair of the convention is Tim Erickson, vocalist, composer, ethnomusicologist. Tim Erickson is internationally known as one of the great living exponents of traditional American folk song. Tim has taught courses in American and world music at universities across the country, including Amherst, where I believe he is right now, and published scholarship on early New England music in connection to 19th century abolitionism, apocalyptic theory, technology, and the birth of science fiction. As frontman of the legendary folk noise outfit Cordelia's Dad, Tim Erickson is the only singer-songwriter that we know of, I think that maybe anybody knows of, to have shared a stage with both Kurt Cobain and Doc Watson. And here he is in the studio once again with us.
Hello.
Hello.
I sound more interesting when you leave most of it out.
No, there's no way that's true.
I don't think that's true.
Well,
So this convention, there's a new Sacred Harp book for the first time in 30-something years.
1991 was the last one, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been singing out of that ever since then, and the one before that was,
Was when? The original 1800s
No,
one?
there have been new editions just about once a generation, or some of them closer together, ever since that time, and they've always included new songs, and they take some out and they add some in. Mm-hmm. But this is the first one in a long time. I'm waving it in case anybody's
for the listeners at home. He's waving it in the studio.
And for listeners at home, it is about 3 inches thick.
It's pretty thick. I got a lot of my credit cards and stuff in there at the moment. But
you also wrote Erickson on the pages,
I
so
did.
that we wouldn't take your book.
Yeah.
So you're so ensconced in this world of Sacred Harp singing. Are you behind this new edition of this?
No. Fortunately, I didn't have to do any of the hard stuff. I just get to just sing out of it, which is great.
And you've got some arrangements in it, which is also awesome.
Yeah. I have a song in here, and a bunch of friends have songs. And that's been really fun to see. And I think I mentioned this in the email, but there's a bunch of songs in here that are the most recent songs of local origin in the book. Previously were from about 1803, songs published in Northampton, and have been sung ever since then. But so it's cool to have a whole bunch of new songs.
And those stories have a fascinating history too. Those early 19th century
ones. that one that we just heard, Montgomery, named after Montgomery. Shout out for fundraising something for people in Montgomery.
800-639-8850 or NEPM.org.
By Justin Morgan from West Springfield. So I thought that would be fun to hear. Just something that from 1790. So this was something all the people on the money. I can't speak for Sacagawea, but all the other people on the money knew this stuff.
You mean the dead presidents, etc.
The dead presidents and others.
How did you get into Sacred Harp singing?
Kind of the same way I got into punk rock, which is I heard it on a record, and I liked it when I was a kid, and but it was a slow burn. It wasn't it took a while. Yeah.
We mentioned that at Helen Hills Chapel of the Redundant Redeemer at Smith College, there's a regular Tuesday singing session, because it really is called Helen Hills Chapel, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And there's another one in Brooklyn with the same name. But
really?
Anyway, yeah.
No.
Interesting.
Same Helen Hills?
Same number of hills.
Okay, great.
So how many people are usually coming to this regular singing of Sacred Harp?
I'd say, well, last night with the weather and all, there's
Oh, yeah.
probably 25,
But
30.
still with the weather. But
Normally I'd say probably 40, 50, 60 would be a big night. There's even a new tune in this book called Helen Hill's Hills.
Nice. Maybe you should teach us that one, because I think we're going to try to get you to teach us how to do a little bit of this later.
Again, I'm so bad at solfege.
But are you responsible for why there's such a big contingent of Sacred Harp singers here? And are there other places in the country where this tradition is still so popular?
Yeah, well, the heart of the singing is still really in parts of Alabama and Texas and Georgia. Is where the strongest singing is, but we've been really fortunate to have a good, strong, regular singing here build up over the years. And I can only speak for my own attendance, which is pretty regular. Everybody else is kind of up to on their own. But
then there's the convention that's happening this weekend,
Yep.
Saturday and Sunday, March 7th and 8th at Bombyx, and we're speaking with Tim Erickson, the renowned musician and ethnomusicologist who is once again chairing the convention. And how many people are we expecting to come from where to this?
I always have high expectations, and I think back before the pandemic, we were kind of pushing 500 we had 20 states and 5 countries kind of a thing. It's trailed off a little bit, but I think we had 250 or 300 last year. So, of course, I'm hoping for 1,000.
Aim high. Hey, we're hoping for 1,000, too, at 800-639-8850 or nepm.org. Hey, 10,000 if we get to those 225 people by 7 p.m. today.
I mean, where are you going to put them in Bombyx? I think they're rated for like 300-ish.
No, we are going to stick with the fire code for sure.
Yes.
If it gets too big, we'll be outside. But
cool.
And hopefully the weather will cooperate.
Hopefully the weather will cooperate.
Yeah.
So we're talking with Tim Erickson about Sacred Harp singing, and there is this convention happening this weekend at Bombyx. And we keep saying Sacred Harp, and we've had you on the show to talk about this before, but if people have missed you or have missed the idea, why is it called Sacred Harp? Not Sacred Heart like you see in a lot of Catholic iconography, but Sacred Harp.
Well, the Sacred Harp is a compendium of sacred songs almost entirely. As you mentioned, first published in Georgia in 1844. A lot of the songs are older than that, and all the ones from late 18th, early 19th century all come from kind of around here, from New England, and even from as locally as the Valley here and in Northampton. And it just there were books called the Dulcimer, the Timbrel, named after instruments mentioned in Psalms, and it just came to mean a harp. Just came to mean like a compendium of tunes. So there's the social harp, there was the anti-slavery harp out of Boston in 1848. Harp just meant like a bunch of songs.
But it's neat, like their arrangements remind me a lot of like troubadour like early music, like troubadour and trope and like chansons, the way that the notes move against each other, the parts move against each other. It's very archaic sounding, which I think is very cool.
I should know more about that than I do, but I can tell you that I know it's very melody based, and that's true for all 3 parts or 4 parts. And that is, so it's not, people aren't thinking chord progressions. And yeah, I played at a early music festival on the Ukraine border some years ago. And that was the thing that they were telling me, oh, is this like Baroque stuff? I heard later that they were reluctant to hire me because they said, like, what is this Tom Sawyer music? How can there be like early American music? That was what I heard from them. But anyway, they were remarking that it was similar to Baroque music, but I really don't know anything about that.
What is this Tom Sawyer music?
It's Rush. Exit the Warrior.
Yeah.
Today's Tom Sawyer. And this Sacred Harp notation is interesting too, right, Tim Erickson? It doesn't look like traditional music that you would, if you're learning how to play piano and the staff and the G clef and the bass clef and all that.
It's got all that stuff, but on top of that, it's got differently shaped note heads. And this was something that people experimented with. William Bull up in Greenfield was messing around with that. He actually had a numerical system: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And who was William Bull?
He's a dead white guy from Greenfield.
Like so many of them are.
One of many. Sorry, I talk as if everybody knows who William Bull is. But there's, both for the interest in music education, getting everyone to sing, and also in the interest of selling books, people came up with all kinds of different systems. And this one system that's used in the Sacred Harp was developed 1798, 1800. And mostly published out of in a book out of Albany for a long time. I got one at a junk store in Northampton.
Whoa.
And this is the book that you're now holding. It's not the 2025 edition.
Right now,
of
I'm
Sacred
holding
Harp.
the Easy Instructor. It was called. It was the first book to contain this notational system, and this belongs to a woman in Northampton in the 18 teens.
Wow, and it looks like it.
Yes.
It's
It's a little
dangerous
bit-
to touch it. It looks like
I carried around way too much. It used to be more attached, but that system has really stuck around because it's really practical, and what the shapes represent, the differently shaped note heads, it's the same old scale as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, do, 6, 7, 8, do, re, mi, etc. But the shapes help orient you within the scale. And they adhere to the what's called the British solfege. So people within the sphere of British influence, whether they're European, Native, African ancestry, various combinations, if they were within that sphere of British influence, the way that Shakespeare and others learned how to sing the scale was fa sol la mi fa mi la sol fa la sol fa.
hence solfege, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Ish.
Yeah, but the idea of using just 4 notes was apparently some Irish kid in 1599 who was a college student. So there's a lot of young people involved. The notational system was also invented by some young folks down in Philadelphia.
And the shape notes and the note heads, it's sometimes also called shape note singing,
Indeed.
indicate which kind of direction you are going to go
They
in
just
the solfege?
they just indicate which of those notes you're on. So fa, triangle, sol, round, la, square, fa, triangle, sol, like, so and so. And it just orients you within the scale. So it doesn't tell you anything about duration. The shape doesn't tell you anything. It's just other than the shape notes orienting you within the scale. It's all just regular notation.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
That is cool.
How much of the new Sacred Harp is like sort of secular?
It's all sacred. There's a couple of things that are sort of more historical, patriotic songs, but it's a sacred book of sacred songs, and the singing is for the duration of the book's life. It's been a mixed bag of singers. I'd say more people who wouldn't consider themselves religious probably now, but it depends where you go.
Well, I want to hear some more about some of these new songs coming up in just a little bit, and maybe we'll get a solfege or a shape note singing lesson from Tim Erickson, our guest, as we look to the Sacred Harp Convention at Bombyx, which is happening this weekend in Florence. And we'll hear about some of the other exciting musical endeavors that Tim Erickson is up to and reigniting, actually, with some old bandmates as well.
Indeed. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Dean's Beans Organic Coffee, a locally based, worker-owned company committed to social and environmental responsibility, roasting fair trade, organic, shade-grown coffee since 1993. DeansBeans.com.
Welcome back to the Fabulous 413. We're with Tim Erickson getting ready for Western Mass Sacred Harps Convention at Bombyx this Saturday and Sunday, open to the public, so that even if you don't know how to do this, you can learn and then participate with the rest of your community.
And Tim Erickson has the new 2025 edition of the Sacred Harp book open to the page of what we were just listening to, I believe.
256, the song called Northampton by our friend Allison Steele. She's got 5 songs in the book.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Allison Steele.
Friend of ours. She started the singing in the Tuesday singing when she was a student at Smith, and she's the vice chair for this year.
So this is a new composition that she wrote, but in the style of the Sacred Harp.
Yeah, it's just after singing this stuff for a while, you kind of it starts coming out of you, I guess, if you like it well enough.
Can you read us some of the lyrics and how it maybe ties into Northampton?
This is from an epitaph of a woman named Sarah Shaw, 1792. And it says, "Come, let the fair and blooming youth this read and feel the solemn truth. Be ready now for death may soon seize on your frame and cut you down."
Whoa!
She really got the vibe of the early 1800s down.
Well, that's an actual gravestone. Allison's a gravestone carver, so.
Wow, that's what she does
knows
professionally.
Yeah.
It's doubling down into the material.
You don't have
for
to
sure.
be this old-timey to get into Sacred Harp singing.
No, you
everybody.
could just like sing and you don't.
Think of the shape notes and the shapes on it like your GameCube controller. Like you're gonna hit the X, you're gonna hit the triangle. It's gonna
Yeah, it's a lot like Dance Dance Revolution.
I mean, they even have the square. And actually, I was going to ask about that. Like, why does Sacred Harp sing in a square? Usually, like, you're separated by section, and then you sit in squares kind of facing each other to bounce
so
the
we
sound.
can hear each other and see each other and keep tabs, make sure nobody's up to anything, and because there's no audience in particular, so you can hear each other better if you're all facing each other, and if you sing better if you're sitting with 100 people singing the same thing.
It also says something different about the intention of the singing, that it's for each other rather than for an audience.
Yeah, it's for God and whoever shows up.
Yeah. Let's hope God shows up at the Sacred Harp Convention this weekend.
I love it.
Tim Erickson, you have one of your songs in this new compendium, the 2025 edition, that has to do with a swimming hole.
It's on page 413.
Oh, look
That
at
was
that.
a little Easter egg on behalf of the good people at the Sacred Heart Publishing Company.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
And I don't want to say too much about it because you're not really supposed to give too much out about your swimming holes.
Swimming holes, yes, definitely don't.
But anyway, there it is on page 413.
So if you get the new compendium,
if you get the new book,
it's fun. Now it's like a scavenger hunt.
Where do you get the new books from?
At the Singing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I got about 7 boxes of them in my living room. So
they're not widely available at local bookstores.
You can. No, it was pretty cool. The first week this was out, it was like everybody was like around the world, all the singers, which is not a lot of people, but it was enough that everybody's like. The second it came out, it was buying boxes, and I did a little sleuthing. I figured out it could have been like an Amazon like #1.
Yeah,
it sold enough, but it was just like why would they put it on Amazon? It's just like right to the Sacred Heart people, and they'll send it to you.
That's
right on.
We like to keep it that way.
Indeed.
You have a couple of songs that you recorded for the Cold Mountain soundtrack as well, which you were a part of, and those are in this new edition as well.
They've been in there for a long time. Both of the ones that we did for the film were in that 1859 edition, and earlier books as well.
So, not that we're keeping tabs, but like as a tally, do you know how many Western Mass contemporary composers of songs or arrangements are in the new Sacred Harp?
A bunch. There's like, I don't know, a half dozen of us. Somebody call in.
Fair enough.
Some of the other Sacred Harp singers.
There's a bunch.
Oh, cool.
I should have probably figured. I know somebody knows, but I don't.
No, it'll encourage people to come out and meet some of those folks who probably will be there singing on the weekend at the convention itself.
Yeah.
And the convention is the 7th and the 8th at Bombyx in Florence. And we're with Tim Erickson, who is once again the chair of the convention. But you are doing a couple of other really cool things in the very near vicinity. You're playing at the Drake. At the end of the month on March 20th.
With my new band.
Is it your new band or is that your new old band?
I don't know, but it's Tim Erickson and Peter Irvine, and we unintentionally made a record, and we love it, and it's like, this is different. This feels like we've been in a lot of bands together, so I think it is a new band that just happens to be the same old people that were in all the other bands.
But this is not the same new old band with the folks that you had a punk band with when you were in middle school?
No, that's another band. I did an album with my band Stands for Nothing that's now finished, but that's kind of we're doing a punk rock show up in Maine in a couple of weeks, but it's out of the listening range.
Good.
So how many bands and projects then does that? I should really stop asking for numbers of things.
It's not my forte.
But you are performing with Rhiannon Giddens at Carnegie Hall.
Well, she asked me, so I haven't signed anything yet. But if I'm not too busy that day, I think I hope to do that.
And PBS listeners will know Rhiannon Giddens' voice, if you don't already know her wonderful music, as the narrator for a lot of Ken Burns' more recent documentaries. And
not to mention her own documentary on the banjo, and check out her work with Silk Road Ensemble about the American Railroad. That podcast is fantastic.
She's great. This is the Silk Road Ensemble. I'll be joining them.
Oh, wow. Great.
Theoretically at Carnegie Hall. So.
Nice. So then we have called the Silk Road Ensemble our own kind of personal Pokemon, where we're trying to collect them all. And we have had...
Did you get Johnny?
Johnny who?
Gantelsman?
I don't think so.
I don't think so,
He's coming into town.
Okay,
cool.
We'll have to bring him.
All right.
We want to meet all of the Silk Road Ensemble at some point.
We're doing our best.
Yes, and we've got the current Tim Erickson, who will be joining, hopefully, Rhiannon Giddens with Silk Road Ensemble at Carnegie Hall on May 8th.
Also, I have to say that your upcoming album with Peter Irvine, the name of it, I think is delightful. Absence and Her Sister is such a good name for an album.
I appreciate that. Thanks. I love it, and it's I won't go into detail about it, but it's the right name.
Yeah.
It's the right title.
In the about minute we have left, is there a little Sacred Harp singing you can show Khalees and I? So This may discourage people to donate if they hear, especially me singing. Khalees and Tim are both professional singers.
Well, the quickest thing I could do is just say, repeat after me.
Okay.
Be fa sol la. And you do that again, but higher. Fa sol la. Then mi fa.
I almost said then mi fa.
Then mi fa. Right. Fa sol la, mi fa, or I fa.
Fa sol la.
That was a Merriam Webster joke. Fa sol la mi fa mi la sol fa la sol fa mi fa sol la sol fa sol mi sol fa sol mi sol fa, etc. That's page 304.
And again, you don't have to go that fast if you come to the convention.
The psalm
That's
already.
the only numbers I know, pretty much.
But you can be part of this Sacred Harp convention, which is making its way back to Florence and Bombyx this weekend, the 7th and the 8th. And Tim Erickson, who's there on Tuesdays at the Helen Hills Chapel, singing with lots of Sacred Harp singers. But this will bring people from all over the country and probably beyond to sing this American style of music from the early part of the 18th century.
And through now with the new songbook, which is also super cool.
Tim Erickson, thanks so much for coming in and showing us more about Sacred Harp singing.
Thanks. I really appreciate your enthusiasm for this stuff.
Oh, it's so cool every time. On the next Fabulous 413, we check out how the construction of the new Jones Library is going in Amherst.
And our weekly chat with U.S. Congressman Jim McGovern. If you've got a question for the congressman, and I'll also say, for the governor who will join us the next day, you can email it to us at thefab413@nepm.org.
Yeah, get all your legislative questions in.
Please do.